I'm going to hop into my command line. And can everybody see this okay? Good? All right. Now I'm going to just do this off of my desktop. And so we can see here, I'm going to show what version I have. So I'm running 13.03. And now let's generate a new application. So I don't know, let's go hello FEM for fun and masters. And it's going to ask us a few questions. Would you like to add routing? I do like to add routing, which is going to add another routing module. And what style sheet format would you like? So we're going to go with SCSS. And you can see here that it is generated a bunch of files, and then now it's going through and installing some dependencies. And we're going to let this kind of do its thing. And what's funny about this is this takes all of 3 minutes, 4 minutes. You know, it's hard to say. That took even less. But this used to take me an afternoon. So from here, I'll just clear this, and we're going to step into this. All right. And you can see here that it's generated our source, node modules, etc. here. And before I do any of this, I'm just going to go npm start. And let's see what happens. So it is with Angular 13. They've changed the way that they bundle the files, but they have baked in like caching into this to make it a little bit faster. And you can see here, compiled successfully, and we are on localhost 4200. And so this is our application. And the Angular team has graciously gave us a couple of links here that we can click through. It was very nice of them to tell us what we can do next. And so from here, let's hop back into the command line. And I'm just going to open a new window here. And let me just open this up in VS Code so we can see this as well. In the source, we have app and a couple things. So we have our app module, which let's just use our previous kind of that high level thing to just kind of anchor some of this. We have our app component, browser module, and our app routing module. So browser module comes from Angular, and this app routing module is what was generated from the CLI. And we don't have any routes in here, but it has went ahead and created this for us, and it is essentially added it via import. So if you have a module you want to make available to another module, this is where you do that. And we have our app component, and within this, you'll see here, not a lot's happening other than we have a class, our metadata here, and then this is all of our markup. So I don't want to get too much into this, but what we can do is ng, and I could type out component, but you can use C as a shortcut, and I'm going to do home, but you notice here that I have some command line history that it's kind of trying to spoil the surprise, but by using a hyphen D, this allows us to run in dry mode or dry run. And so I recommend, especially if you're trying out a new one, that you can go ahead and check and just make sure everything is where it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And you can see here now we have our home component. And if I go back into my code, you'll notice here that inside of app, we have home component, our component class. We have a .scss or SAS file that we can put any kind of component specific styles, as well as a spec file here. So if I go back into the terminal and I go ng test, we'll see what happens. But what this should do is kick up a test runner, and hopefully, because I haven't done anything, I hope this passes, and that'd be amazing. But it is spinning up Karma, which is the test runner, and then it's saying, all right, we're going to run. So right out of the gates, and testing is something that's not very exciting, but it is absolutely critical. And the fact is that I've created two components from the generator. One came with the project, but then I have a home component, and it's already instrumented to write test. And so my experience is that the further the distance is away from writing code and being able to write and execute test, the further that distance gets away, the greater chance that tests are just not going to be written. And so I was able to generate a component, and boom, I already have a test harness in place that works. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, but you can see that it's all green. I think this is pretty cool. Now, just a few other things. Let's go nggs, and I'm going to do a service, and let's call this, oh, I don't know, like we're going to call this courses, and I'm going to do a dry run, and let's see what happens. So it's generating a service and the spec, but what I don't want is I don't want this to go right in the root of my project. So what I would do here is, in the case of using just the Angular CLI, I will put my common file, so anything that's not component related, into a common folder. So essentially I organize by features. So home, let's say that's a feature, courses, and anything that is common or that can be shared across features, I treat that as a large common feature that then gets segmented down. And let's go with courses here, and we'll see here that it generated, or it's putting it in common services, and then the courses service. So let me go ahead and run this. We'll generate this, and then let's step into the code and see what this looks like. So we have our home, which we generated, and then in here we have our courses service, and there's nothing here, but you'll see that it went ahead and it's provided in root, which is why if we go down here, that you don't see this in the providers, because I could attach it directly to this module, but by providing it in root, it just is attached to the root module. And so ng new will generate a new Angular project, and using ngg, you can generate all sorts of stuff. And let me just see what happens if we do ngg-help. So one other thing worth mentioning is that if you use --help or --help, you can see a number of things that are available to you. So application, class, component, lots of stuff. And this was totally not in my notes, but let's see what happens if I generate an interface. So let's go common, models, course, D. I just want to see what this looks like. All right. we will take off the dry run flag, and let's hop into the code and just see what this looks like. So common, models, course, and then you could see here I could start to build out my interface. So if I had a course, I might have title, which is a string, description, which is also a string. We can do progress, which is, let's say, a number, and completed, which is Boolean. And so this is just off the top of my head. But by using the CLI, I was very quickly able to generate and spin certain things at one, the project obviously, but I was able to generate the pieces that I could then come in and we could start to work in, including a component, a service, and in this case, an interface. And so as we start to work through the rest of these modules and some of these challenges, I recommend definitely keeping NGG close to the vest as it is.